There are moments in films that feel uncomfortably close to real life, moments that quietly ask us to look at ourselves rather than the screen. This story begins in one of those spaces. Billy works at a modern company alongside Kazuya, his closest friend. Their relationship is easy and sincere, built on trust, shared routines, and mutual respect. Kazuya stands out effortlessly. He is confident without being loud, admired without trying to be. In any workplace, there is always someone like that, someone who seems to move through life with fewer doubts. Billy does not resent him. In fact, he genuinely respects him, which makes everything that follows more complicated. Then Noa enters the story. She is new, observant, thoughtful, and quietly warm. Noa is not presented as an idealized figure, but as someone approachable, human, and real. Billy notices her in small moments, through glances and conversations that linger just a little longer than necessary. His affection grows slowly, internally, without grand gestures or dramatic declarations. This is not a love story driven by bold action, but by hesitation and restraint. Noa's attention is drawn to Kazuya. It feels natural, almost inevitable. Kazuya's openness and confidence make him easy to admire, and Noa responds to that energy. Billy becomes an observer of his own feelings, standing on the sidelines, watching something he never quite had the courage to pursue. There is no bitterness, no blame. Instead, there is a quiet sense of loss that Billy carries alone. What makes this part of the story particularly resonant is Billy's inner dialogue. He does not lash out or assign fault. Instead, he turns inward. He wonders what might have been different if he had spoken sooner, if he had trusted his own worth enough to take a risk. These thoughts are not destructive, but they are persistent. They represent a very human response to regret, one that many viewers will recognize from their own lives. Billy's conflict is not with Kazuya or Noa, but with himself. He is caught between acceptance and longing, between maturity and vulnerability. Then comes the moment that shifts everything. A misunderstanding begins to form around Kazuya's intentions, leading Noa to believe that his feelings may lie elsewhere. The film does not rely on shock or confrontation. Instead, it focuses on Noa's reaction. Billy notices at first the quiet change in her expression, the sadness she tries to conceal. It is a subtle but powerful moment, one that reframes the entire story. For Billy, this is not simply about opportunity. It is about responsibility. He sees someone he cares deeply about in emotional pain, and he realizes that his next choice will define more than the outcome of a relationship. It will define his character. Sometimes the most difficult choices appear quietly, disguised as moments of private understanding. And when they do, they ask a simple but profound question. When someone you love is hurting, what kind of person will you choose to be? The emotional center of the film begins to take shape in the silence that follows Noa's disappointment. There is no dramatic confrontation, no public breakdown. Instead, the story leans into something far more realistic and far more difficult to face: quiet hurt. Billy notices the change in Noa, not through words, but through absence. Her laughter becomes softer, her focus more distant, and her presence less certain. These subtle shifts are where the film's tension deepens, because they mirror the kind of emotional pain people often hide in everyday life. Billy finds himself in an unfamiliar position. For the first time, he is close enough to Noa's inner world to sense her vulnerability. The misunderstanding surrounding Kazuya has created a fragile emotional space, one where Noa feels unsure, unvalued, and confused. Billy understands what this moment could mean. He could step forward, offer comfort, and allow his long-held feelings to guide his actions. On the surface, it might even appear kind or supportive, but the film is careful to show that not all comfort is innocent and not all timing is fair. What makes the difference is Billy's internal struggle. He does not act immediately. His hesitation is visible in his body language, in the way he pauses before speaking, in the way he watches Noa choose her words carefully. The film treats this hesitation as a form of moral awareness. Billy is not paralyzed by fear, but by conscience. At the same time, his regret resurfaces. The what-if questions return, now sharper than before. What if this pain is his chance? What if love sometimes requires courage, even when it feels uncomfortable? These questions are not dismissed or mocked. The film allows them to exist because they reflect real emotional conflict. It acknowledges that doing the right thing is rarely easy when personal feelings are involved. Kazuya, notably, is not portrayed as absent or careless. He remains unaware of the misunderstanding, continuing his life with the same openness and sincerity as before. The story is not about competition between men, but about the values that guide them. As Billy spends more time around Noa, he becomes a quiet source of stability. He listens without interrupting, responds without pushing, and offers presence without expectation. These moments are small but meaningful. They demonstrate that genuine care does not demand immediate reward. However, the film also makes it clear that Billy is aware of the line he must not cross. Every kind gesture carries weight because intention matters as much as action. The climax arrives not with a dramatic event, but with clarity. Billy realizes that if he allows Noa's pain to become the foundation of his own happiness, that happiness will be fragile and unfair. The film frames this realization as a moment of emotional maturity. It suggests that love built on imbalance, even unintentionally, carries long-term consequences for both people involved. This is where the central theme becomes unmistakable. When someone you love is hurting, the question is not what you can gain, but what you can protect. Billy understands that Noa's confusion is temporary, but the impact of his choice could be lasting. He recognizes that stepping back may hurt him now, but stepping forward for the wrong reasons could hurt everyone later. A decision is coming, even though it has not yet been spoken aloud. The tension is no longer about romance, but about integrity. The film has carefully shifted the stakes from emotional desire to moral responsibility, preparing the ground for a choice that will define Billy not as a romantic lead, but as a person of character. This moment leaves behind an uncomfortable but valuable reflection. Genuine care often requires us to wait, restrain ourselves, and prioritize the happiness of others over our own desires. In doing so, it challenges us to rethink what love would be like when it is tested not by rejection, but by opportunity. The turning point of the film arrives quietly, without ceremony, and that is precisely what gives it weight. Billy reaches a moment of clarity where hesitation is no longer possible. He understands that remaining silent would be a choice in itself, one that allows confusion to deepen and pain to linger. At the same time, speaking up means accepting the possibility of personal loss. Billy chooses honesty, but not the kind that centers himself. When he finally addresses the misunderstanding, he does so with care, focusing entirely on restoring clarity rather than advancing his own feelings. His words are measured, respectful, and grounded in concern for Noa's emotional well-being. There is no urgency to persuade, no attempt to influence Noa's choices, only a desire to ensure she sees the situation as it truly is. As the truth begins to settle, Noa's emotional landscape shifts. Confusion gives way to relief, and relief gradually opens the door to understanding. The healing process doesn't happen instantly, and trust isn't restored in a single moment. Instead, we witness a gradual restoration of balance as Noa regains faith in his own self and his relationship with Kazuya. Billy remains present but unobtrusive, creating space for the recovery to unfold naturally. For Billy, helping resolve the situation brings a sense of relief, but also finality. He must confront the reality that his role in Noa's life is not the one he once imagined. Billy's expression reflects acceptance rather than defeat, suggesting that dignity can coexist with disappointment. Kazuya, once aware of the misunderstanding, responds with the same sincerity that has defined him throughout the film. There is no anger, no defensiveness. It also affirms that misunderstandings are not signs of failure, but opportunities for growth when handled with respect. Billy's actions demonstrate that emotional courage sometimes means choosing the outcome that does not benefit you personally. As relationships realign, the emotional tension shifts from uncertainty to resolution. Noa and Kazuya move forward with renewed trust, while Billy steps back with intention rather than resentment. The film is careful to show that stepping back is not the same as being left behind. Billy remains whole, grounded in the knowledge that he acted in alignment with his values. This shows that, instead of recounting the suffering of a loved one, the most meaningful response might be to remove obstacles rather than wallowing in their pain. By prioritizing clarity over desire, Billy helps create a healthier outcome for everyone involved, including himself. As emotions subside, the film offers us a final, reflective look. The conflict has been resolved, but the lesson continues to unfold. What remains is not a matter of love, but of character, and the understanding that the choices we make in quiet moments often reveal more about us than any dramatic action. In its closing moments, the film gently steps back and invites reflection. Billy does not walk away with romance, but with something deeper: self-respect, emotional clarity, and peace of mind. The story reminds us that love is not proven by possession, but by care. When someone you love is hurt, doing the right thing may cost you personally, yet it strengthens your character and preserves what truly matters. If this story resonated with you, take a moment to like the video and share it with someone who might need it today. Subscribe to the channel for more thoughtful film analysis and meaningful life lessons. Let us know your perspective in the comments. Your voice helps keep this conversation honest, respectful, and inspiring.